Now comes the complicated graph. So bear in mind this one. And what I'm now going to show you is the behavior if you integrate all of the nationally determined contributions from all nations and see what the emissions pathway looks like. And that's shown in the yellow points curve. So the curve which shows the blue just below it is the behavior committed by governments in Paris. And you'll see that if we follow that, it goes up till 2030. So there's a first disadvantage of the Paris Agreement. Most countries have only committed to 2030. The United States not even quite that far. But if we add those up and then assume that we can accelerate the pathway but only after we achieve the 2030, you'll see that we've drawn in here, roughly speaking, a realistic pathway into the future. Now, what does that add up to in terms of temperature rise? Well, I'm afraid it adds up to a 3 to 4 degrees centigrade temperature rise. Right, so now let's go back and ask another question. If we look at the emissions per annum on the curve that shows the sharpest fall, so that by 2035, we've actually become greenhouse gas neutral on that curve. That's the curve required to stay below 1.5 degrees centigrade with a 50% chance. Now, in other words, from this analysis, we've got to be very lucky to stay below at anything close to 1.5 degrees centigrade. If you look at the blue dots and the red dots, those two curves represent two different evaluations of the fall required to stay below 2 degrees centigrade with a 50-50 chance. So somewhere between the red, the blue, and the yellow curves is the pathway we need to be on if we are going to secure our future. Now that's quite a big difference between those pathways and the pathway shown in yellow representing a simple adding up of the INDCs. But then let me emphasize, I believe we can do far better than those INDCs. The point about this, my presentation to you is, however, we will have to do much better and we will have to be very proactive in doing that.